My name is JP Ramsing. I'm the Manager of Learning and Development here at Santee Cooper, and welcome to the Power Line Hazard Awareness Demonstration, better known as PHAD. This demo is something that we take around the state. We take it around to make sure that we educate the general population on the dangers of overhead and underground power lines. So off in the distance, you actually hear a generator, correct? So what we're doing is we're simulating that being the power plant. We've got a black cord that runs from that truck, and it's running down the ground. That thing has our transmission line. So the transmission line comes from the power plant, goes out to various substations, switch yards, then it gets distributed across the way through our distribution system, correct? So what we have up here on the trailer is an example of our distribution system. So everything up on the trailer, there's nothing fancy up there. It's all, equipment. Obviously we can't use these utility poles because they're too short, but we could use these transformers and other things up on the trailer out in the field if we needed to. So you also notice that we have an orange barrier, and this is how we had set up for your school. Would set out, the mat, and would put out the barriers. And obviously this demonstration is going to be a little different than it would be, if we were doing it for your kids, because we want to inform you of what we're doing a little bit different than we would if we were talking to a third grade group. So we've got the barriers here. At any given time, this trailer can be energized at 7,200 volts. So that's the reason why we have this barrier here. At no time during this demonstration should you walk up here and try to touch this trailer, okay? Because electricity is always looking for a pathway to what? Ground. It doesn't care if it goes through the equipment up here or if it goes through your body. Whenever I energize the trailer, the lights come on. That's an indication for me and also the men up on the trailer. We want to make sure that we do everything safe at Santee Cooper. So again, this is an extremely dangerous demo. However, if we do it the proper way, it's very safe. Okay? So up on the utility pole, or up on the trailer, we have 3 utility poles. We got utility poles 1, utility pole 2, and 3. Up on pole 1 and 3, we have some silver trash can looking devices. What are those? Transformers. What does a transformer do? Transforms. Does it turn into a robot?
Step up or step down voltage.
That's exactly right. Step up or step down. It only does 2 things. It's either going to step that voltage up, or it's going to step it down to a usable level in your house, right? Up on poles 1 and 2, we have some switches, and up on those switches are what? What is the weak link in a circuit? A fuse. That's correct. A fuse is a weak link in the circuit. So that's what we have there. We have fuses up there, and we're going to demonstrate that in a little bit. Up on pole number 2, we have what's called an OCR. OCR stands for oil circuit reclosure. You ever been at your house and notice your lights flick on and off, but your power doesn't always go off? So what's going on there, at Santee Cooper, we don't use OCRs. We use breakers, okay? Essentially the same function, but that OCR, we're going to demonstrate how it works, but a lot of utilities still use OCRs. We just don't use them anymore. But it's essentially the same thing, and it serves its purpose, and it does a great job at that. So this is where we usually get some volunteers to help us up on the trailer. Brandy didn't tell you about that? You want to? Well, I didn't bring the paperwork for the waiver. So have y'all ever seen all the animals that we have out here at 1P?
Yeah.
We were able to set up some animal traps this morning, and we were able to get a critter.
Oh, yeah.
It's not too late yet. I told you I'm a volunteer.
So this is Rocky the raccoon. Rocky's obviously not real. That is a really dangerous, that's probably the most dangerous part of our demo right there. But you notice Kyle has Rocky. Rocky's kind of been modified, right? Obviously Rocky's not real. And he's got a copper wire coming out of his rear and his mouth, okay? So believe it or not, in our distribution system, squirrels cause a lot of disruptions. Y'all ever seen squirrels run up our lines?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Y'all know a squirrel is just a rat with a really neat tail, right? Okay, well they go up there and they start chewing on things they're not supposed to chew on. So what we're doing here is we're going to demonstrate how that happens and what happens. So Rocky's going to climb the pole. All right, so what do you think just happened there? It blew that fuse. Obviously in the real world, that fuse might be a little bit louder, okay? So if you ever hear a loud boom and your power goes off, a lot of times people are like, oh, the transformer blew. It's not the transformer that blows, it's that fuse. We're starting to use, the only thing that we really modify is the gunpowder that we're using in these fuses. So that's the reason why they're not always consistently loud. But you notice we got Rocky up in the system still. Chad's going to close in this OCR. He flips that switch up, and this is going to be an example of your lights going on and off at your house, okay? So let's say you have a tree limb that's bumped up into, you know, our power line, or something hitting our power line causing a disruption. Your lights are flicking on and off. If every time a power line were touched by a tree and you lost power, we wouldn't have very reliable coverage, correct? That's one thing we pride ourselves at Santee Cooper. We have like a 99.996 efficiency rating on our system. So we got Rocky up in the system still. If you'll listen closely, you're going to hear a couple clicks, and you'll notice that OCR is going to open up.
Okay.
So that was really fast. Obviously, it's not going to be that fast. You know, you're going to notice your lights flicking on and off. And eventually you're going to lose power if it doesn't clear the fault. And what happened there is Rocky stayed up in that system. He couldn't clear the fault, and then it operated that OCR, so we lost power. So again, our engineers go out, they determine what areas need, you know, what equipment. So either they'll put a breaker out there or an OCR with the other utilities to make sure that we have reliable power across the grid. We've got utility pole 1 over there, right? Do y'all see any utility poles out here? No. Where's the power coming from?
Underground.
Underground, right? So underground power is very reliable. What I mean by that is you're not going to have a truck run into a utility pole and knock out that service, right? Not saying that it couldn't, because you notice we have a utility pole here. We got a conduit pipe going down just like you would have at your house, and it's going to go underground. So that's what we're simulating here. So I'm not saying that you can't have an accident take out underground power, because it does happen, but it's not as likely to happen as an above ground structure, okay? Because at some point that underground has to be above ground. So there are those weak points. An example of an underground power line, it's going down that utility pole through that conduit pipe, and what we're simulating here is Kyle making a mistake, and he's going to come in contact with that underground source. In South Carolina, who do you have to contact before you dig?
811.
811, okay? That's by law. Prior to digging any type of, you know, large dig, you have to contact 811. They'll come out, they'll provide it, it's a free service, they'll come out and you'll get what's called a PUPS ticket, and they'll actually mark all the utilities, because those utilities could be electrical, it could be gas, it could be sewage, fiber optic, all kind of different things, right? So what we're simulating here is Kyle, he didn't go out and do a locate, and he's going to come in contact with an underground power source. So if you watch the tip of the shotgun stick, Kyle's going to make contact with that underground source, and let's see what happens. Y'all notice that small little spark?
Yep.
Okay, that's the effects of 120, 240. Okay, 120 volts, 240 volts, 240 volts. That's the power that you have going into your house. Okay, that's what we use every day. More people are killed by that lower voltage than the higher voltage. Why is that?
We got access to it.
Access. We use it all the time, right? How many of y'all ever yanked a cord out the wall? You see that small little spark?
Yep.
That's essentially what you just saw there, okay? That's the reason why we have those little plastic covers over our outlets when we have small kids, right? We want to make sure that they're protected. The sad thing is, you know, everything makes a full circle, right? So we know that's dangerous as a kid, and then we get to college and we start doing some adult things and some silly things, and it just so happens that your buddy might stick a pair of scissors in the outlet, okay? Don't recommend that, okay? You ever notice all those little stickers on like a hair dryer or a blow dryer that says, you know, this doesn't mix with water? The reason those stickers are there is because somebody thought it was a good idea to blow dry their hair while they were in the tub. How many of y'all have a drop cord at home? How many of y'all wrap that drop cord up around like that? Everybody.
Yeah.
Do y'all unplug that drop cord before you do it?
Yes.
I can't say that I always did.
Yeah.
I can't say that I always do still.
That's right.
So the problem with that, y'all, is if you have a drop cord, and if you're very cheap like I am, and you use something until it can no longer be used, You might wrap some duct tape around that little weak section and, you know, wrap it up. The problem is if you don't unplug it from the wall and you're wrapping that up around your arm and there's a weak link right there, our bodies are excellent conductors of electricity, right? It's gonna touch your arm, you're gonna be all hot and sweaty like you are right now, and it's gonna cause you to lose your life, okay? So always unplug that drop cord prior to wrapping that drop cord up. You notice that they were doing some changing up here on the trailer, right?
Yes.
All right, so what they were doing is they were actually swapping from the low side to the high side. And what I mean by that, how many of y'all have home generators? Anybody have a home generator? Okay, so one of the things that we teach at Santee Cooper is generator safety. We want to make sure that if you have a external generator, you know, especially down in the low country, a lot of people have generators because of hurricanes. So we want to make sure that those generators are properly connected. Okay, we don't want that generator going into your house and we have a down service down and you're powering up your house. If you don't disconnect that generator from your main, it's going to be going through your meter box, out your meter box, into that transformer, and it's going to be pushing that voltage down. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking that voltage from your house, pushing it out your house, going to that transformer and stepping the voltage up. So essentially that's what we just did. We just changed some things around and we're actually going to be stepping that voltage up now. Again, that small little spark that you saw a minute ago was only 240, 120. Now we're dealing with 7,200 volts, so you're going to notice a large difference. So you notice we've got a line here. This is simulating a down power line. Nothing's happening, right? I got the button on. I've already showed you if the light's on, we got power, right? So if you made that misconception and you go out, hey, I'm going to move this line so my grandpa can park there, this is what would happen. That arc terminal, how hot do you think that arc terminal is? If you had to guess. Throw a number out there. 100,000. All right. If this is the price is right, he'd be wrong, okay?
Did he overbid?
He overbid.
3,000.
Okay.
1 degree.
1 degree. All right. All right, so the arc terminal in a laboratory study. So we teach NFPA 70E, which is arc flash studies, okay? It's a general, you know, engineering code that we have to follow. And in an arc study, they show that a terminal at the arc, at the source of the arc, could be up to 4 times hotter than the surface of the sun, okay? So you're talking around 35,000 degrees, 36,000 degrees, but that's in an environment, you know, that's in a controlled environment. So it's probably not going to be that hot out here. It's only going to be probably, you know, 10 to 20,000 degrees. It's not that hot, right?
Yeah.
So if it were to contact your body, you know, you're going to be cooked, okay? All right, so is rubber a good insulator or a good conductor? Yes, what? Yes, yes. So you're correct. It's an excellent insulator. Okay. You notice we've got rubber goods up here. You know, our guys are wearing rubbers. They've got rubber ground mats up here. So this is a rubber tire, right?
Yep.
Our car tires are made out of what?
Rubber.
Rubber. What else is in our car tires? Steel belts, right? Yep. That's what gives them that rigid effect where they can stand up on their own without even air on them. Okay? So what we want to do here is we want to tell you, if you ever see a down power line in your vehicle, what should you do? Can you ride over it? I mean, you got rubber tires, right? Back up and avoid it. You know, go around it. If it's completely blocking the road and that's the only way out, don't go over it. And this is the reason why. So again, this is just a rubber tire, and this is demonstrating what would happen if we had a down line and you decided to run over it with your car. What do you think would happen if we were to leave that rubber tire on that ground mat?
It would eventually melt.
It would eventually melt, right? It would melt, it would explode. It'd just be a bad day. You say you have to get new tires. Exactly. Let's say you strike a utility pole and you came in contact with it and there's down lines over your car. What should you do? Should you stay in your car or get out of your car? Stay in your car, right? Let's say your tires start smoking and start burning. Can you stay in your car?
No.
So what do?
Get out.
Get out of your car, right? You just step out, right?
Better jump.
Better jump. That's right. So let's say you strike a utility pole and you have a power line over your car or next to your car. Obviously, if there's no danger, intimate danger to your life or health, stay in the car. However, if your car started to catch on fire or, there was other circumstances that you had to get out of your car, get out of your car. But you can't just step out of your car. So you can't, you're driving along, you strike that utility pole, you open your door, you just can't step out, right? Because you have a difference of potential. Remember, electrical current is like a bullseye. You're going to have 7,000 volts on top of your car. On the left side of your car, you might have 5,000 volts, and it's going to dissipate the further it goes away from the scene. So we want you to make sure that you stay at that same potential. So you're going to open your car door, put your feet on the car door jamb, and you're going to jump out at the same time, or landing both feet at the same time, okay? They call me fat, but I've lost 37 pounds. And once you step out of the vehicle, or jump out of the vehicle landing both feet, can you just walk away? You shuffle your feet, right? You want to keep that same potential. Okay, so you have two options. You can shuffle your feet. Essentially, you want to keep your feet pretty close together within that same potential. Or you can bunny hop.
That's not how you bunny hop. What are your hands supposed to be?
Yeah.
Do your hands up, Chad.
Get 'em up, get 'em up.
Come on, Chad.
Go, lost your mind.
But how far do you think you need to do that for? We always tell them 2 spans, okay? 2 spans. What we mean by 2 spans, if you've got, 2 utility poles here, go 2 spans. 1, 2, get a good distance away. There's a thing called a would-be rescuer, okay? You understand what a would-be rescuer is? Okay, a would-be rescuer is somebody that had the best intention. They really wanted to help. However, they became a victim because they didn't know what they were doing. They thought with their head, or they thought with their heart, and not with their head. They went into a situation they didn't. So when we teach our CPR classes, all of my instructors are all CPR American Red Cross certified. We always do the 3 C's. Okay, check, call, care. Okay, we want to check the scene for safety. Okay. We want to call the professionals, call 911, and then we want to provide care. Same thing, if you're already involved in something like that, make sure that you properly assess the scene before you jump in and try to rescue somebody, okay? How many of y'all have ladders at home? All right, so probably have aluminum ladders at home, right? Why? Because they're light. They're light, they're easy, to get around. We can't use aluminum ladders, right? In our industry. You think we can use a metal ladder to climb a transmission pole?
No.
No, okay. It's a conductive item. We can't use conductive items in our line of work. However, at home, we might do that. Whenever you're walking around at home, do you ever think about what's above your head? Honestly. How many of y'all think, hey, look at all this stuff above my head? So we're going to show you a couple of different angles here. Going back up to Anderson, a few years ago, we had a 13-year-old boy. We had just gotten done doing a PHAD up in Anderson. And there was a 13-year-old kid. He had a dip net. Y'all know what I'm talking about, a pull dip net? I don't know what he was doing. We assumed he was going to get something off his roof, He was running around his house with that dip net. And whenever he was running around his house, he had an older style house and he had a overhead line going to his house, because new subdivisions, pretty much everything's underground, right? But he had a weatherhead, like you were asking about earlier. He had a line going to a weatherhead and into his house. Well, he was running around his house and he came in contact with that overhead service line, and he lost his life at 13 years old. So again, that's what this is demonstrating. You need to be mindful of what's above your head, but also below you. So you need to be paying attention to everything around you. So again, we're going to do it from a different angle, because what we're trying to show you is that it doesn't matter, what angle you come from, but if you make contact with our stuff, it's going to be life-threatening, okay? All right, so if we were to leave that pole on top of that pad, it would actually weld it to it. You know, it would actually, that's how much voltage we have going through it. That's how hot it gets, okay? Did you ever, okay. So y'all ever heard that story about the old guy years and years ago that was flying a kite out in the thunderstorm? What was his name? Benjamin Franklin. But y'all ever heard that saying, never fly a kite near overhead power lines? Y'all ever heard that by show of hands? Y'all, everybody's heard that? Never fly a kite near overhead power lines, okay? Y'all like my kite? Look at that. Yeah, Buzz Lightyear. Brett will be playing with this after lunch. So, so what we have here is a kite string. You think a kite string, a piece of cotton, is a good insulator or a good conductor?
Yeah, it's a good insulator.
Good insulator. Okay. Let's find out. So I'm gonna energize the trailer. Y'all notice that light's on, right? Chad just broke that circuit. It's like those Christmas lights. Y'all remember those Christmas lights? Some of you are around my same age. You lose one and you lost them all, right? So what we're doing here is we're taking that kite string and we're gonna close that circuit. You had it, Kyle. There you go. So if it's closing that light in, is it acting as a good conductor or a good insulator?
It's a good conductor.
It's a good conductor. So this is a piece of tree that we cut down this morning. We're going to replant it later, so don't get mad at us. Okay, we'll root it. But do you think this piece of tree is going to be a good insulator or a good conductor? So same experiment. You notice the light's off. This one's on, so we got power. He's going to stick it up in the system. Look at that light. Wow. That light comes on bright. Y'all had a good breakfast this morning, right? I know y'all have eaten well all week, right? So today we're going to cook hot dogs for you. Y'all like hot dogs?
Yes.
I didn't wash my hands, I'm sorry. But what we're doing here is we're going to show you what could happen to your body if you came in contact with an overhead or underground power line. So this is a ballpark beef rank. I'm assuming that's what Brett got us. So it's a ballpark beef rank. Bun size.
All beef, right?
All beef.
Very good.
Very good, Brett. So what we're doing here is, y'all ever seen a bird up on the wire? How can a bird sit up on a wire?
It's not grounded.
It's not what?
It's not grounded.
It's not grounded. That's exactly right. Y'all won't believe the answers that we get from kids. Oh, they got special feet. They're rubberized feet. I mean, some of them are genius answers, you know. I mean, they're really thinking about it, you know. But this is an example of a bird on the wire. So he's going to put the hot dog up there, not touching that secondary line or that ground line. Nothing's happening. Like Kyle's super strong. If y'all ladies, if y'all notice, Kyle's like he's a ripped guy.
Good shirt.
So he could go up there and he could do pull-ups all day long as he didn't touch that bottom line. Even energized, nothing would happen to him. But the second that he got tired and he hit that line, or let's say that bird's up on the wire and opens its wings and a wind gust came by and caused him to touch something that is grounded, this is what would happen. Give me one more. So electrical burns are really neat in the sense of how they progress. They're not really neat, they're very horrible. But if you look at this hot dog, this side it looks normal, right? Nothing's wrong with it, nothing's going on with it. However, on the outside, on this side, it's pretty hot, but it's really hot. This side is devastated, right? And that's how an electrical burn will be. You'll have, you could have a small wound here, and it looks fine. Everything looks normal. It looks just like you have a contact burn, you know. However, everything up underneath that skin is superheated, it's cooked, and what you would think would be a simple injury would later turn out to be an amputation, okay? So again, same thing, hot dog. See how this one does. So y'all notice I'm up here pulsating that button, right?
That's a good one, JT.
Yeah. So y'all notice how, wow, this is hot. Y'all notice how that first hot dog kind of looked, you know, semi-normal, okay? Y'all notice how this one exploded. Same thing can happen to our bodies. Our bodies are made up differently, okay? Just like these hot dogs. Y'all know there's like 15 different animal parts in this hot dog, right? Some more than others. But that's what happens to our body. We have different makeups. You might have a small burn here, but the guy next to you might be devastated, kind of like the two difference in the hot dogs. So you can see that this hot dog is totally ruined, okay? It's done. So that's what we want to educate everybody on is, you know, we really love our power. Because whenever y'all leave out of here, y'all all hot and sweaty right now, but whenever y'all leave out of here, y'all going into a nice air conditioned room, right? And we love that during the summer. In the winter, we love our heat. So we love the power. However, we have to respect the power. Because we all, I guarantee you, we've all walked into our house when we knew the power was out and we still hit that switch, right? We've all done it. So we expect that power to be there. However, a lot of times we forget how dangerous it can be. And so that's where we want to educate, especially our youth. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. It's just like wrapping that drop cord, you know, around your arm. You don't think about that. But if there's a weak section in that drop cord and you're wrapping around your arm and it just so happened to make contact with you, you're going to lose your life unless that ground fault circuit interrupter works. There's a good chance that it might not work. So again, just remember safety first, because you don't get a second chance, okay? A lot of times when you're dealing with voltage like this. So we want to make sure that you understand all the hazards. So you notice these guys were up here wearing their gloves. This is their primary line of defense. This is a leather protector. It's protecting this glove. This glove is, what I was thinking about earlier, anytime you're dealing with 50 volts from water to ground, you have to wear insulated gloves, okay? So that's an OSHA rule, you know, that's a mandated rule that we have to follow. So anytime we're dealing with more than 50 volts to ground, DC, you have to wear insulated gloves. So these gloves are rated for 17,000 volts, okay? These gloves are tested every 90 days. We send them off and they're tested. However, every day prior to use, they also do a self-check. That self-check, y'all notice that this glove is red on the inside, black on the outside, right? Why do you think that is?
See if there's a hole.
See if there's a hole, right? They also do, it's called a self-air inflection check, okay? They're rolling it up, and what do you think they're looking for? A hole, okay? So they'll squeeze the fingertips, because if you squeeze the fingertips and you see red, you know, because we've had gloves that we've actually used in demos before where they failed. They failed the inspection, and they said, like, we'll get gloves that have failed so we can do different, you know, things up here on the trailer. And it failed inspection, and when we got it, I was like, there's nothing wrong with this glove. And you could squeeze the finger and you could see a small pinhole. And we'd put a hot dog up inside that glove and would show the line techs, you know, that glove looked perfectly normal. If you didn't do your proper self-check, you know, it would be, you know, a devastating mistake, because this is their primary line of defense. So again, they're checking it every day prior to use. They roll it up, make sure there's no hair, holes, checking the fingers, checking the cracks, and making sure that it's protected. At no time will you ever see them use this rubber glove without this on it, okay? If they do, this glove's no longer any valid, okay? This leather protector protects this insulated glove. They also, both of these guys, sorry ladies, are married, but I don't think either one of them, well, he's got a silicone ring on, and Chad doesn't have one on. We cannot wear jewelry, you know, conductive items inside the glove. That silicone ring is fine. It's not a conductive item, it's smooth. Like my ring, you know, if I were to put it in that glove, it's got some rough edges, it could cut that glove. It's also a conductive item. So that's their primary line of defense. Their secondary line of defense is the shotgun stick, or hot stick, whatever you want to call it. It's called a shotgun stick, you know, because of the racking mechanism. People, you know, kind of talk about that. These sticks can be extended out, you know, a good ways, so they can manipulate the higher lines. At no time while they were manipulating those lines did you ever see them touch that line and the stick against their body at the same time. Always out away from their body. Why is that?
Past the ground.
Okay, past the ground. If this stick had a fault in it and they were touching it and it were to fail and come down that stick and it was touching their body, you have a pathway, okay? So again, they hold it out, make sure that it's working. They have different tools that they can use to grab and do different functions with. And every foot on this stick is 10,000 volts of protection. These actually have to be tested as well. We get them tested. We have to keep them protected. We have sleeves that we have that we put them in, and then we keep them in those conduit pipes down underneath the trailer because we want to make sure they're safe. So again, it's all about understanding the job and understanding the tools that you use, and that's what these two guys are so important for our line techs. But you also notice they're wearing FR clothing. Chad's got our new shirts that we have. Kyle's got one of our old shirts. But they're wearing FR clothing, pants and shirts. Neither one of them have t-shirts on, but if they had t-shirts on, it'd have to be a natural fiber undergarment. They couldn't have like polyester, anything that's meltable. Because if they had an arc flash come against them, if they had meltable fiber, it would stick to their body and burn them, okay? So again, these guys, you know, they've been doing this job for a long time. Chad, how many years now?
Just over 15.
So 15 and 15, okay? And they are the cream of the crop. They're excellent instructors, and they do a really good job for us at Santee Cooper.